Hello, fellow alchemists and Flutterists. Welcome back to our integrated tutorial series about how to use a API written in Absinthe with Flutter. Now, I've written quite a few Flutter apps, actually just two, but still more than one. And one was done in Firebase, which I'm not super happy about. But the one that we did in integrating with Absinthe has just been really, really great. And I've spent quite a bit of time trying to get myself into Flutter and also how to really have a really robust app. It's a totally different dimension than when we're working with Elixir. And so I think this is a good thing for me to start to show you guys why we really choose Flutter. And also why we also choose Elixir with Absinthe to connect it to. And just like I did for our previous videos, I'm going to run all of this with test-driven development. I'm still quite new to testing with Flutter, so I will be honest with you. But I've learned a couple things, and I want to pass on my learnings to you, and I'm open to any kind of new ideas if you guys have some. Or I may come back to this once I've learned some more and actually show you better ways to do what we do today. But in any case, I want to go ahead and just get started. So this is a brand new Flutter app. Nothing too special. We're just going to start off over here. I'm going to go ahead and kill off this test because we're not going to be writing any kind of widget tests. There's a couple different types of tests in Flutter. One is the widget test, as you saw, like an integration test. And there's some others too, but in this case, I'm going to kind of work my way up. The first thing I want to do is make sure that I can actually properly parse the JSON data into a real class. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and start to add some plugins that we're going to need, some packages. I like to get rid of all this because I feel like it's just kind of fluff. Same with this. And I need to just go ahead and add a couple of libraries to our project. And it's not too much, but all is useful, of course. Now, I'm going to add some things now. I may add more things later on, but for sure this is what I know we definitely need. One is something called equatable. And at this time it's 1.1.1. Now equatable is a way to basically check to make sure that objects are the same. In Dart itself, objects are the same when they have the same address in memory. But I want to actually compare objects in terms of their data to say is, certain fields are the same. And the easiest way I found is using this library called equatable. The next thing I want to add in is Flutter block because I like to use the block pattern. We won't be probably getting to the block pattern today, but let's go ahead, let's reload it, or let's set it up at least. So that's 320. And finally, GraphQL, because we are using GraphQL, so you guys remember from our previous videos, and this version is 3.0.0. We also have to add in block test for when we actually start to test our own blocks. In this case, it's 4.0.0. And now I like to use this editor. Feel free to use whatever you think you like, but it's always nice to click buttons and kind of be able to click around, at least for me. So I'm going to have to get my packages. So I just do packages get from my pubspec YAML, and it's going to pull in all of our packages. Perfect. Now, the way I like to do my tests is very, very similar to how we do our tests in Elixir. I'm going to make a to-dos folder just like we have in the Elixir side. And then I'm going to make the test for actually parsing our data, make sure we can parse it properly. And in this case, it's going to be on the task itself. And I'm going to also go ahead and mirror this side too. So create a to-dos kind of context or folder in this case. And of course our task over here. Now we need to import our testing library. So there's Flutter test. And the way tests are done in Dart, or at least in Flutter, is that we need to have a main method in our test file. And then we can start to create tests similar to how we do in Elixir. And so we can have to put a string in for the name, the description, as you can see. For this one is can parse JSON data into a task. And this one we put in basically a lambda or a kind of just a anonymous function within here. And so for this one, it's not too difficult, right? So we just need to have some JSON data. So I'm going to create my JSON data, and it's going to be basically just a map. We don't have to say it's a map, but it can kind of figure it out itself. We have completed is one field, true, because it's a Boolean, right? We have name, and this could be test task, and of course ID. And I'll just make a very simple ID. Now you may be wondering, okay, actually within our system, ID is actually a integer. Well, not quite. We have the ID type in that we're using, and this is actually going to be a string. The way ID is configured from Absinthe is that ID is actually a string, and so we can just use this directly. And we want to make sure that our task class, we have a from JSON method. We pass in our JSON, and we're going to expect that the task we get back will basically equal a task here. Now I'm going to stop here because, as you can see, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because I don't have this class created and I don't have my constructor created properly. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to do that. So I'm going to create my class, task. Now I'm going to go ahead and start using my equatable because I want to be able to compare tasks, and how I'm going to compare them is I'm going to extend this equatable from class. And as you can see over here, there's already an error. Well, that's because we're missing a getter over here. So we can just right click on the class, go to generate and implement methods, and we need this props class. So this is how you can use equatable, so you give it some properties to check against. So this one has to be a list of objects. So in this case, I'm going to start to name some values of my objects. So we have string ID. Of course, we need to also have a Boolean of completed. And then finally, string name. So I'm just going to say that for something to be the same as another, we need to make sure that the ID, the completed, and the name is equal. Now this is also going to complain. It's because I call these as final, which I kind of like to do. I like to keep things similar to how we do in Elixir, where you just kind of assign it once. In this case, I'm going to put these all to final so that way they can't be changed. But because they're final, they have to actually be set up. So in that case, we need to make a constructor. We got our ID, completed, and our name. And that will quiet everything up. And then I just do Command Alt L on my computer. And this is going to just go ahead and format my code. So now what I'm going to do over here is say that my ID should be, actually, so I still need to actually create this one. So this is a static method because it comes from the class. It's going to return a task from JSON. This is going to be a map of string keys with dynamic values, be JSON. And I'm just going to go ahead and just return just a empty task for now. Let's see, define task. Okay, so then we just need to import this task. So in this case, lib to-dos task. There we go. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and set my values, make sure that my ID will be 1, my name will be test task, and my completed will be true. And then finally, you need to set up my test part over here. And so I'm going to make sure that run my Flutter tests, in this case, all in the directory. And I'm just going to set this to be my test folder. So now when I run my tests, it should fail. There we go, fails. You don't really get a good idea of why. Probably if I change the toString or something, you can probably see that. But I know they fail because these properties are not the same. Okay, simple. What we do is we say, okay, ID is going to be ID. Name will be name. And then finally, completed will be JSON completed. And now we run that again, should pass. There we go. So now, as I showed you before, it's pretty simple. And now the last method I want to go ahead and set up is going to be testing that can parse JSON array data into a list of tasks. So I can basically copy off of this. So grab this. This one. And then I can just grab this one and just change the values slightly. So we'll just say task 1. We'll set these ones to something else, just in case. Task 2, and of course ID will be different. And let's go ahead, let's format this so it looks a little bit nicer. So of course we need our tasks. I'm gonna make it from JSON array. Now with this one also has to be, I have to create this one, not too bad. Static, list of task from JSON array. This will take a list of map string dynamic JSON array. I'm just going to return an empty list to make sure that I can test to make sure things are working properly. And of course we need to expect that the tasks will equal out to, we can just again grab this, it's nearly the same. So it should be task 1. And then finally, task 2. False. And then format that. There we go. Let's run our test. There we go, fail. Pretty simple. We expected this, we got something else. Okay. Now, the nice part about Dart is that it does have some functional characteristics. So what I like to do is I like to use those characteristics. So I want to say I want to map each value, and you can see it's going to give you an element from that list. Since we already know it's a map string, right? It basically maps across. We can just pass in the function and then make sure that we return a list. Otherwise, this one's just going to return an iterable, which is not the same as a list. So now if we run that, there we go. Pretty straightforward. Sorry for the sudden change. As you can probably see in the video, we are splitting this video up into 2 videos for this week because it is quite long, about a half hour of content. So I decided to split this video up after I recorded it into 2 different videos. So I'm going to be releasing this video, of course, today, Wednesday, and I will release the second half on Friday. So I just wanted to kind of end the first video. So please subscribe if you haven't. Again, we have the second part coming up very quickly, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Hi. Please feel free to ask us any questions about Elixir, Flutter, or anything else in programming. Here's our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll answer your questions every Friday. Ya man tai ge dak man all. Yo wenti ji da wen wo.